Morning to all. I am G. Deivasena, Assistant Professor, Department of English, JJ College of Arts and Science, Pudukkottai. I am going to take the class for the third BA English Semester 5 paper Fiction 2. The Power and the Glory is taken from the Unit 2 of this paper and it is written by Graham Greene. Before going to the novel, we should know about the author's information. Henry Graham Greene, born in 1904. He was an English writer and journalist regarded by many as one of the leading novelists of the 20th century, combining literary acclaim with widespread popularity. Greene acquired a reputation early in his lifetime as a major writer, both of serious Catholic novels and of thrillers or entertainments, as he termed them. He was shortlisted for the Nobel Prize in Literature several times through 67 years of writing, which includes over 25 novels. He explored the conflicting moral and political issues of the modern world. The Power and the Glory won the 1941 Hawthorne Prize, and The Heart of the Matter won the 1948 James Tait Black Memorial Prize and was shortlisted for the Best of the James Tait Black. Greene was awarded the 1968 Shakespeare Prize and the 1981 Jerusalem Prize. Several of his stories have been filmed, some more than once, and he collaborated with filmmaker Carol. And we should have keep in our memory about this novel the very important matters of this novel divided into four parts. Each parts have four chapters in it, and a novel based on the totalitarian movement. In totalitarian movement, church prayer and Bible reading outlawed by the ruling Mexican government. Government announced and ordered the police to capture the missed priest. Nameless Priest is the protagonist of the novel. People called him as Whiskey Priest. Introduction of the priest. The priest and met the dentist at the shore. He went to the doctor's home. He left the Bible in his home. The priest missed the boat because of he went to the rescue a dying mother of a small boy. He went to the house of Captain Fellows, who was running Central American Banana Company. His daughter Coral was become a best friend of the priest, and the lieutenant got the power to catch the priest by shooting him. In the first part, at the beginning of the novel, the priest is waiting for a boat that will take him out of the capital city. He is on the run from the police because religion has been outlawed in his state, and he is the last remaining clergyman while taking to a man named Mr. Tench, who is a dentist at the in the very first we have seen that. He is summoned to a dying woman's house and missed his boat. He hides out in a barn on the estate of the plantation owner, befriending the owner's daughter, forced to move on. He heads to a village in which he used to live and work as pastor. There, he meets Maria, a woman with whom he has had a brief affair, and Brigida, his illegitimate daughter. He spends the night in the town and walks before dawn to say Brigida to say mass for the villagers. The lieutenant, a sworn enemy of all religion, arrives at the end of the mass, leading a group of policemen in search of the priest, and the priest goes out to the town square to face his enemy. No one in the village turns him in, however, and the lieutenant does not realize that he has found the man he is looking for instead. The lieutenant takes a hostage whom he says he will execute if he finds that the villagers have been lying to him about the whereabouts of the wanted man. No one noticed the priest. He is the missed priest in the in that place. Uninvited, the mestizo accompanies the priest on his journey. The government announced $700 on his head to one who captured the priest and announced where he is. They will get 700 pounds for that matter. So that the mestizo found his identity and he wants to get the 700 pounds and he wants to meet all his dreams in his life, so that he is following the priest wherever he goes. The priest knows that, and he escapes from every time from the mestizo's attention and his views. And does the villagers do not want to notice him to capture by the police. The priest then backtracks to the capital city. He is in disguise, wearing a drill suit, and he tries to procure a bottle of wine so he can say mass. He meets a beggar who takes him to a hotel and introduces him to a man who says he can supply him with the wine. The, the villagers wonders the priest has requested a bottle of wine to give a mass, so that if they ex, they are expecting for a good priest and for good mass for abolishing all their sins in his lifetime, so that he they are ready to give them whiskey for him, and they offered whiskey to him, so he happily done the most for their request, and he escaped from their place, and then he traveled through the village, through the forest and mountains and hills. The priest then leaves the hotel but is caught with the bottle of brandy by a state official. After a lengthy chase through the streets of the lawn, during which the priest unsuccessfully attempts to take refuge at the house of Padre Jose, he is caught and taken to jail. In jail, he speaks with the He is caught and taken to the jail. In jail, he speaks with the prisoners, admitting to them that he is a priest. A pious woman in jail for having a religious article in her home argues with the priest. The next day, the priest is ordered to clean out the cells, and while going so, meets the mestizo again. But the mestizo decides not to turn the priest into the authorities. The priest has another face to face encounter with the lieutenant, but again goes unrecognized and is allowed to go free. The priest spends a night at the abandoned estate of the fellows and then moves on to an abandoned village. He meets an Indian woman whose son has been shot and killed by the gringo, as American outlaw who is also on the run from police. He accompanies the women to a burial ground and leaves her there, fatigued and almost completely drained of the will to live. The priest staggers on, eventually coming upon a man named Mr. Lahar, who informs him that he is out of danger, having crossed the border into the neighboring state where religion is not outlawed. The mestizo, always waiting to capture him to the police, and also Padre Jose does not accept his arrival in his home, and he is a very timid person for the police. So only he got married with the servant woman, and she dominated him as a worst person. After spending a few days at the home of Mr. Lehar, the priest prepared to leave for Las Casas. But before he can depart, the mestizo arrives, informing him that the gringo has been mortally wounded by the police and is asking for someone to come and hear his confession. The priest, aware that he is walking into a trap, finally agrees to accompany the mestizo back across the border. There, he meets the gringo, who refuses to repent for his sins and then dies. Then, as expected, the lieutenant arrives and takes the priest into custody. The two men have a long conversation about their beliefs, and then, when the storm front clears, the lieutenant takes the priest back to the capital city for his trial. On the night before the priest is to be executed, the lieutenant goes to the home of Parajos to see if he will come and hear the confession of the captured priest. Parajos refuses, and the lieutenant returns to the police station with a bottle of a brandy for the priest. That night, the priest tries to repent for his sins, but finds he cannot. He wakes up at the next morning afraid of the impending execution. The next day, Mr. Tench watches the execution from his house of window of the Jeff's office. Later that night, the boy hears about what happened to the priest and realizes that the man is a martyr and a hero. He dreams about him that night and wakes up to the sound of knocking at the door. Opening the door, he finds a man seeking shelter, and when the boy learns that the man is a priest, he swings the door wide open to let him in. Uh, through this through this novel, Green wants to convey that is the God is the master of this world, the creator of this world. So no one can abolish the God's power from this world. So only he has given the title as very suitably to this novel, Power and the Glory. The power does not work on the glory of God. This is the significance of the title of the novel. Here, Padre Jose is the bad example of how the priest does not behave. Is not behave like this. And then the whiskey priest is the good example of how a priest is live like that. So only these are the moral. So many of the moral uh, conveyed by Green in this novel, and we can always have the belief on the creation of the God and blessing of the God and the power of the God. So, power and the glory is mentioning the significance of the God's power and God's glory in this world. So, weapons, power, and military cannot abolish the power of the God and the reality of divinity from the mind of the people. Wherever he goes, he moves through the village, through the hills and the forest. He met a lot of the people want uh, uh, to give a mass, and they are expecting for a good prayer, and they are having a belief in his mind about the blessing of the God and the blessing of the priest. They are expecting for a good priest, for a good prayer, and they are expecting to abolish their sin, and they want to be uh, they want to live a good life in their life. So that Green conveys through this novel, there is the power of the God is a standard one, it is the eternal one in this life. Thank you.